Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind, where we break down the guitar sounds from our latest album, Electric Mind. In the last episode, we took a look at HCBM, the first track off the album, so if you haven't checked it out, please be sure to do so. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at our second track, Parallel. Let's get into it.
So call out my name. We know we are all the same.
Parallel is perhaps the most unique track on the album because it's the only one that wasn't originally recorded at White Elephant Records like the rest of the songs. Originally, it would be remixed and remastered by our producer Jeremiah Pilbeam, but it was actually recorded at a time that even predates my joining Overdrive Orchestra. So I would like to bring back Chris to walk us through some of those early days of recording Parallel.
So Parallel, along with a handful of other tracks, was written during the band's time down in Nashville, Tennessee. And that particular tune was actually recorded while we were still living down there. Basic tracking was done at New Hope Church in Jolton, Tennessee. We tracked it live as a three-piece, as that's what we were at the time. And basic overdubs were done at the House of Blues Studios in Nashville. Studio D, specifically. And then we ended up doing a few more overdubs once we relocated back to Michigan. But all that initial tracking was done down in Nashville. Now, the biggest factor to the tone of those guitars is going to be the tuning. Most songs are played and recorded in A440. That particular tune we recorded in A432. And to do that particular song, I plugged my Gibson Les Paul right into my Box AC15. The only pedal I'm going to be using for that tune is going to be a Big Muff Pi. But for the verses, at least the first verse, it's just right into that box. It's going to sound like this. Then once we get to the first chorus and onward, you kick on the Big Muff. Now for the overdubs, I called upon another one of my favorite guitars, my Epiphone Casino Coupe. This is a phenomenal, fully hollow guitar. Probably wouldn't expect it. One of the noticeable overdubs that we tracked would be the clean arpeggios that you hear on the latter half of each verse. That, again, is going to be the Epiphone plugged right into the box. We did add some delay after the fact, so I've got some dialed in for effect. The other noticeable overdub for that song would be the guitar solo at the end of the last chorus. You may or may not be able to hear it from the recording, but that is accomplished with a very cool effect called an EBO. Essentially, it just creates an electromagnetic field, and it causes the strings to vibrate indefinitely. So you don't have to worry about picking or using a slide or anything. It just goes.
wanted to make sure that Parallel got its full due on a studio album, so the decision was made to include it on the track list for Electric Mind. But now that the band was back in Michigan and underwent a few lineup changes, namely myself, Cameron Hill on drums, and James Blevins on keys, we wanted to make sure that the song fit in context with the rest of the album. Enter Jeremiah Pilbeam.
What's up, everybody? It's Jeremiah calling in via telephone from White Elephant Records. I'm just checking in today and I'm going to explain to you all how I played some of the guitar parts on the song Parallel. Here's a little bit of backstory for you. Parallel was actually the first time Overdrive Orchestra and myself got to work together. We had been wanting to work together for a while, so this was just kind of a good test run of sorts. They contacted me about mixing 2 songs previously recorded, and Parallel being one of them. So I listened to the track, and I was hearing some things that could be there that weren't. So I called Chris, had a conversation with him about it, and I was basically like, do you want me to color inside the lines, or do you want me to just do whatever I'm hearing and just go off? I told him that I was hearing some more chorus guitars, just something to give the choruses a lift and add some excitement. He really dug that idea, and he was like, man, you just do whatever you think's cool. If you hear some guitars, you can even play them if you want, just do you. I knew right then and there we were gonna have a good producer/artist relationship. So rewind a little bit, I'd always loved their name. I remember telling them and I thought that should be exactly what they sounded like, an orchestra of Overdrive. And if I was gonna work with them, in the future, that's the direction I saw. I think it kind of hit them heavy and they really dug that I saw it in that way, like I really understood, what they were trying to do. So for the chorus parts that I was gonna play, I constructed them in that way, simple, 1 string at a time parts, layered together to make a big, edgy, fresh sound. Here's how I did it. The guitar that I used was a 1984 Gibson Invader, and honestly, I probably just picked that guitar up because it had the newest strings on it at the time. So basically, I did 4 different parts, kind of building as the song progressed. The first chorus is just a straight 8s part that's doubled and panned hard left and right. It kind of just drives it along. This is also on the second chorus and the end. For this part, I did one of my favorite tones ever, big muff DI into the console, crank the preamp up to taste. I felt for this song that was gonna give it like an edgy, kind of fresh, modern kind of sound. On the second chorus, I brought in a couple other elements. The first one was a simple root note on the 1s, ran through an original version Electro-Harmonix Pog. Again, doubled and panned hard left and right. Basically, I was just going for like a huge, almost organ type effect. That pedal's crazy. Like when you dial it in just right, it sounds like Godzilla walking the earth or something. It's just humongous. The amplifier that I used for this track was my favorite amplifier in the studio. It's a red Marshall JCM 800. I ran that into a Marshall 412 cabinet with 25 watt greenbacks. Also on the second chorus and out, I added a wah guitar. Again, just something simple, just adding texture. And for this track, I used my favorite wah pedal in the studio. It's a Rocktron Black Cat Moan. It's pretty unique. It's got its own distortion circuit and like a cue to it, and then you can combine that with the wah. And then, in the second half of the last chorus, into the bridge and out, I added a sort of pedal tone that moves around just a little bit. Again, just straight 8s, just driving it along and creating like some tension. Now for this part, I used a Roger Mayer Octavia, the spaceship looking one. And that's it. Again, just simple parts on their own, but when you stack them together, they sound huge.
So there you have it. That's how we got the guitar sounds on perhaps one of the most unique songs on Electric Mind. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, drop a comment below with any questions and we'll do our best to get to them. Also follow Overdrive Orchestra and White Elephant Records on social media, and stay tuned for our next episode where we break down the guitar sounds for Spectre.